I could have been a Bush fan for years.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Taste Like Music, Songs of the Year 1989, the final year of the decade. Pretty decent year, I thought. How do you guys feel about it?
It's okay. I had a lot of like old school artists on my albums of the year, my favorite albums of '89. I know everybody loves the burgeoning alternative and shoegaze and indie and all that stuff, but doesn't really do it for me. I thought this was a pretty okay year, but as you will see, a lot of aging out rock stars, I guess, is a good way to put it in my list. So we'll see.
I thought it was great for albums, pretty good for the Billboard. Yeah, I mean, I thought just the scenes that were hitting in the late 80s were so cool. All the ones Joe hates and all that were just awesome. So, love it.
So if you have not seen a previous episode of Songs of the Year, the way it works, we each make two lists of songs, 5 each. The first list is all songs that charted on the US Billboard Hot 100, could have charted at any time during the year. If it was on there for 1 week, it counts. Then we make a second list of wildcards. Those can be songs that also charted. They could be deep cuts, B-sides, anything like that. One of our two lists will be one song short because we save our favorite song of the year for the end of the video. And before we reveal our winners, we also make a selection for our least favorite top 40 song of the year. So that's how it works. Cram, you went second last time. You going first or last this week?
I'll start it off. Starting off with the Billboard, which I thought not as strong as other years in the 80s, but there's a couple in my top 5 that I adore. One of them being She Drives Me Crazy by Fine Young Cannibals. Another great track that Jason and I rocked the shit out of in the past. I love the sound of the electronic drum. I love just the simple beat behind it. I love the falsetto, and then it just explodes into that really catchy chorus. So awesome with those just big, heavy guitar rips. Also going to go with Like a Prayer by Madonna. Really awesome, like kind of hot club beat. Video was amazing. I think it's just, just got a great, not as good as Whitney's I Want to Dance with Somebody, but kind of on the lines of like those just super fun, energetic, like dance pop songs. I love it. Also going to go with a gem from the Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack, Bobby Brown with On Our Own. I love it. I love the new Jack Swing sound. I love all of like the super like industrial urban like keys coming in and everything. And the chorus is so catchy. There's the well, we've got to control. We got. It's so awesome. A little bit different vibe here with my next pick. I'm going with I Remember You by Skid Row. I adore hair metal, and I think this one is a classic. Skid Row is actually one of my top tier hair metal acts. Love the just sweet, flowery acoustic guitar part with that little just fluttering hammer-on style. And when it gets into the chorus and he's just belting it out, it's awesome. Then I'm going to go finally with Depeche Mode's Personal Jesus. I mean, it's pretty much Depeche Mode in a nutshell. You've got those dark, haunting vocals and those big, like, Euro style beats, and just that guitar part sounds so cool and it's so catchy. It's pretty much everything to the song. So I think those are 5 really good charters.
Yeah, don't have any problems with those at all. My list is a little different. I'm going to start off with Toy Soldiers by Maritka. Just a really kind of cool, different track about drug use that could also be about, breaking up relationship, whatever. Got that kind of childlike chorus. One of the backup singers, Fergie. Didn't know that till today. She was a part of Kids Incorporated with Maritka, apparently. Number 4, 20 years after Gimme Shelter, the Rolling Stones released their last great record, Mixed Emotions. I think this one rules. I remember getting the Rolling Stones, like greatest hits or something, and you kind of get through the classics, and then you get in the 80s stuff, and you're like, all right, skip this one. And then Mixed Emotions came on as like a blast from the past. The Glimmer Twins sound great on this one. Just a really good, strong, final good song from Rolling Stones. Number 3, these guys are newish. Third album for them. I got Sowing the Seeds of Love from Tears for Fears. Love the production, just immaculate, Beatles level, like French horns and orchestras, and it shifts from like, kind of 80s pop song to big orchestral thingy. Like it's all over the place, but it's just insanely catchy. And just a good song from them. Their last probably great one, and then they broke up and whatever, but that's a classic. I don't have She Drives Me Crazy, but I do have Good Thing from Fine Young Cannibals. Love the piano from Jules Holland on this one. And Fine Young Cannibals is such a weird band. They had 2 #1 hits from that album and then just like disappeared into the ether, never to be heard of again. Like, has that ever happened with a band having that much success and just being like, nah, we're out. Like, we'll just walk away. Ridiculous. But just a great song. She Drives Me Crazy is great too. That snare drum sound was widely replicated and stolen after that. Either one could have made my list. Number 1, though, I'm going to go with the Smithereens with A Girl Like You. Just a really great, like old school, crunchy riff just to kick it off. It's kind of indie, kind of like any classic rock fan would love the riff. And I just think it's a great song, just really catchy. Love the female backing vocals that come in at the end. I believe it was made for Say Anything, the movie. Lyrics kind of follow the story, and apparently they were too close to the plot of the movie, and Cameron Crowe wouldn't allow the song on the soundtrack. So I didn't know that till today. All the things you learn researching our songs of the year. Whew.
I almost put A Girl Like You on my list, but I didn't. And because I didn't, we have 15 different tracks on the Hot 100 side. No repeats. My first pick is Rome by the B-52s. Awesome pop song, great production by Nile Rodgers, great singing by Cindy Wilson and Kate Pearson. Really cool guitar work on it too. I really like that whole record, Cosmic Thing. Then I've got Edie, Ciao Baby by the Cult. One of my favorite Cult tracks. I love the acoustic sound in the beginning. Ian Astbury sounds so good on it. He's got to be one of the most underrated rock vocalists. He's got such an awesome voice. This track, not as rocking or as straightforward as Firewoman, which also charted in '89, but it's so big and dramatic. I really love it. It's got a great Billy Duffy guitar solo on it. Really cool string arrangement too from Bob Buckley. Next pick for me is a track that I was shocked to see that it charted. It's Oh Daddy by Adrian Belew. From his Mr. Music Head record, which just missed my Albums of the Year nominations. Really cool record. His first record after the breakup of his little pop group called The Bears. It's just a weird song with so many cool little parts. It starts off with some of his like signature sound guitar playing. It also has him duetting with his 11-year-old daughter. He's got this piano line that's kind of like pounding out the bass line along with the bass. Just really catchy, cool song. I've also got You Got It by Roy Orbison, written by Orbison, Tom Petty, and Jeff Lynne. It was his first top 10 hit in 25 years, thanks in large part due to the renewed interest from the Traveling Wilburys. But man, it sounds great. It's a really good song. His voice sounds amazing on it. And it sounds like really authentic. Like the writing is exactly like a song from the late 50s, early 60s, but it's got that updated 80s Jeff Lynne production. It just works in every way for me. I think it's great. Then my last pick for the Hot 100 is Veronica by Elvis Costello, co-written with Paul McCartney. McCartney plays Hofner bass on the track. It was Elvis's biggest hit in the US, went to number 19. It was #1 on modern rock charts, #10 on the mainstream rock charts. They wrote a ton of songs together around this time. A bunch of them show up on McCartney's record from this year, Flowers in the Dirt. You got 2 on Spike, but this is just probably the most infectious of all of them. Just really upbeat, bouncy, kind of fun pop song, but with kind of darker lyrics about a woman with Alzheimer's. But very cool. Love it. Maybe the last appearance from Elvis, but we'll see.
All right. Like where this is going. Let's get to the wild cards. A lot of good stuff here. A lot of good stuff that I had to cut. And I'm kind of surprised by the ones that I have on here, but it rings true. Haven't done this in a while. I'm going to throw out a couple of honorable mentions. I'm not going to get into the details, but Joe talked about Mixed Emotions. For me, from Steel Wheels, I love Almost Heard You Sigh. That just missed. And from my album of the year winner, Head Like a Hole, just missed as well. Here's what I got. First song would have won the whole year for me. It's broken into 2 parts. If the second part was as good as the first, it would be my song of the year. I'm going with Chloe Dancer / Crown of Thorns by Mother Love Bone. It's fantastic. I believe it was on the single soundtrack a few years later. I could be wrong about that. Love both parts of it, but the first part of it is just the most beautiful like piano part ever, and the way he sings it with like a little bit of like that metal grunge flair, but he's also being like really sweet and longing. It's awesome. And when he does the Chloe does the tables in the French Quarter, it's awesome. I've loved 2 women in my life and they were both waiting tables, so it hits home for me. I'm also going with one I suspect is on Jason's list or was close, Most of the Time by Bob Dylan from Oh Mercy. We've talked a lot about this album and this song previously, one talking about Bob Dylan. It is a tremendously beautiful song, just kind of about being down in the dumps and, you know, usually you got it together, but sometimes you just don't. And I really love this period of Bob Dylan, like even into the 90s, where his songwriting is really sparse and he really lets like the production do a lot of the work. And that's definitely the case on this song. Just these kind of like really atmospheric sonic, like slide guitars coming in and out, waving from ear to ear. You get like this really cool bouncy percussion. It's fantastic. Then I'm going to go with Jesus and Mary Chain with Head On. Probably their biggest, poppiest song ever. Like even Joe might like this one. It's got a really cool chugging beat to it. And it's got that almost like twangy kind of guitar lead, almost like surfer rock, like it's very cool. And then finally, this one also came close to winning. Loud Love by Soundgarden, one of my just favorite heavy friggin' rockers of all time. It's so intense while just sludging along, and Cornell just, oh my God, what a singer. He sounds so good on this track. We talk a lot about it. It was my #1 when we reviewed Soundgarden, but yeah, just the heaviness against like his big scream at the beginning, and then just his the rhythm of his vocals are so cool. And he's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just coming at you in waves. It's got such a cool vibe, and he just pierces through all of that just deep heaviness. It's awesome. Love it.
Right. Good choices. Good choices. Jesus and Mary Chain song is pretty good. Give you that. No. It's interesting what's not on your list. I'm very interested to see what the #1 is going to be. It can't be both of the songs that I'm thinking of. So, woo. #5 for me. Well, this could have been on my Billboard list, but I don't know. I had too many Billboard songs. So, Veronica, Elvis Costello, making an appearance once again. I don't think this will be the last song from him on my list, but probably the last one that could have been on the Billboard. Definitely. I don't think he had another hit, really. It's weird that this is his highest charting American single. Whatever. It's a great song. I love the bass a lot. #4, this guy's been shut out of like every single thing I've done, and I had to get him on my list somewhere. Stevie Ray Vaughan in Double Trouble. I'm gonna go with Crossfire as my pick from '89, from In Step, his last album, which is great. Just missed my top 5 album of the year. One of my more favorite blues albums. Just the playing on this, the bass line kicks it off. It's nice to see just the prominent use of bass on it, and then he comes in like a friggin' like rocket. It's great. Awesome song.
That's not his last album. He had an album came out in the early 90s with as the Bond Brothers, right?
I don't know. I thought this was his last one before he died in a helicopter. He might have had a posthumous release. But anywho, First in Common with Crams are here. I also have Chloe Dancer, Crown of Thorns, from Mother Love Bone. This was on their debut EP. It was on the singles soundtrack a couple years later. Crown of Thorns without Chloe Dancer is on their debut, which would come out in '90, but this is the definitive, both of them together. Amazing. You got Jeff Ament and Stone Gossard, who go into Pearl Jam after Andrew Wood tragically died of heroin the year later. So this one has just extra weight behind it. One of those, it's 8 minutes long, I think, but it earns every second, not a wasted moment on that one. My number 2, runner-up, I could have had this at number 1. So I've really elevated this album in particular lately. I got This Woman's Work from Kate Bush. The Sensual World might be my favorite of '89 now, after listening to it a whole bunch in the past week. Excellent. This one's weird because I knew the cover of it for years and I loved it. There's a cover by Maxwell, and he sings it so well. It's perfect. I thought it was an incredible song. For some reason, I never went back and listened to Kate Bush. I could have been a Bush fan for years. But when I finally did hear this version, fell in love. So good, so powerful. Love Kate Bush. But there is a winner that I can't speak about yet, but I think we all saw this one coming.
So yeah, the Vaughan Brothers record Family Style came out a month after Stevie Ray Vaughan died. Then he had another posthumous release, The Sky is Crying, in '91.
It's good you're back on getting your facts straight, because you made one error in the history of this channel on Jeff.
I've made more than one error, that's for sure.
I'm just saying, you're a Gold Glove caliber. Yeah, you're not making a lot of errors. Don't beat yourself up.
Oh, I'm not. All right, my wild card picks. I've got Here Comes Your Man by the Pixies. Maybe their most straightforward pop song that they ever did. That riff is so good. It's one of those riffs that just seems like unbelievable that it didn't exist before that. It sounds like just like a perfect 60s kind of guitar riff. Hard to believe it didn't come into existence until 1989. Probably the first time I heard it before I was into the Pixies, I imagined it was a cover or something. I think it's great work by Gil Norton producing to kind of make the Pixies more accessible without losing that certain charm and appeal that they have. Surprised that neither of you have had this, at least not yet. I've got The Pass by Rush. I think for anyone who thinks that Rush is only about musicianship and playing and being flashy with the instruments, they should take a listen to this. It's, I think, an incredibly well-written pop song. I could easily see someone like Cyndi Lauper doing a cover of it. I think it would be awesome. It's really cool. I love the rhythmic shift into the chorus with the cymbal hits. It's just great stuff. I also have a Kate Bush song, To Joe's Delight, I am sure. I've got Love and Anger, my favorite Kate Bush song. I also first heard this song as a cover by Not a Surf. I love both versions, but this is my favorite Kate Bush song by a pretty wide margin. I think the drumming on it's great. The bass that comes in like halfway through is incredible. I think the lyrics are excellent. I think it's just a really well-crafted track, the way it builds and kind of swells and just washes over you. Then I'm going with Pictures of You by The Cure. Disintegration has a bunch of amazing songs on it, but I think the lyrics are really what push this one over the edge and make it stand out among all the other great songs. I think they really capture a complexity of emotion that really only Robert Smith can. And boy, do they know how to let a song breathe. I mean, it's so badass that the vocals don't come in on this until 1:52 into the song. Not many pop bands would have the guts to do that. Now, time to get to the worst of the year.
Joe keeps saying that his winner is obvious, and I have no idea what it could possibly be.
It's got to be Janie's Got a Gun, right?
Well, now I think it might be Available Light now that I completely forgot Presto. I don't know, man. Well, let's talk about the shite. The worst song of '89, without a doubt, is We Didn't Start the Fire by Billy Bleh. Yeah, just the worst history lesson imaginable, just the most pandering nonsense I've ever heard. I don't even like that lead melody. It's terrible. It's just tacky, cheap. I don't like it. Set that song on fire. Someone, I believe, on the Patreon Discord predicted this to be Joe's winner. We'll see. It could be.
My least favorite song of 1989. I don't know why I hate this song so much. It's another one that like instant channel change for me. It is So Alive by Love and Rockets. And there's just something really annoying about the way he sings it. I think that's it. It's like this dopey kind of like, kind of, I hate it. I've always hated this song. I don't know why. I seem to remember hearing this when I was like 2 years old, and it's been like lodged in my brain ever since. I don't know why. Really bizarre, but I just hate this song a lot.
All right, my pick for worst is this one's for the Children by New Kids on the Block. It was the lead-off song on their Christmas album. It's super lame. It's like We Are the World and Do They Know It's Christmas had a baby. And the result was so hideous that they couldn't get anyone else to do it except New Kids on the Block. And speaking of hideous, that falsetto at the end is so wretched and awful. I don't know which new kid it is, but it is so bad.
Okay. My favorite song of 1989 is a song by the Pixies. Here Comes Your Man was very close, but I prefer Hey. Love that song. Hey by the Pixies is the winner. It's got just this really wild and dirty, like sexual tension kind of feel to it. I love how it just kind of opens with that cool little guitar part and has this slow, steady kind of just like moving along nice and slow. Mark Francis is, him and Kim Deal kind of singing back and forth, like especially in the We're Chained part is awesome. Love the lyrics. They're really grimy, but like there's a real passion behind it, talking about like the whores in his head and all that. And then when he starts doing like his little frantic, like hissy fit after like the first verse is so cool when he's just screaming out the lyrics. And just the simple guitar work, like when they're doing the We're Chained part and he's just doing that bend over and over. I just think the vibe of this song is just incredibly awesome. It's got like all this built up frustration and everything in it, and then it just like explodes. It's awesome. Here Comes Your Man was close to making the list, but when I really look at that album, I think this is my favorite track on it, and it's my favorite song of the year. Hey by the Pixies.
Right. Well, I lied. Everyone was saying in our comment section, in our Patreon only Discord, which you can be a part of if you join our Patreon only Discord. They were thinking Epic by Faith No More. That seems right? That's what Jason was thinking, I'm sure. I don't know where the hell Cramser's getting Available Light. Come on. It's a great song, but didn't make my top 10 rush. My winner is going to be the song that kicked off a movement, kind of, I guess. A couple of years later, everyone else got around to it. I don't think the people in the US ever, I guess it charted number 18 on the Billboard Modern Rock charts in 1990. But in 1989, it was all over Britain, well known, one of the great songs in British music history, I Want to Be Adored by the Stone Roses. Very surprised it did not make your list, Cramser. You know, I like the Stone Roses. They're not like my favorite. I know some people worship them. But this song in general, it just feels like a coming like storm, like here comes British music again, like in its wake. Britpop, Oasis, and Blur, and sort of, you know, a return to guitar rock would follow in their wake. And I just love the way it builds. Like it's one of those songs, you know, nothing happens for like a minute. I think the bass guitar comes in first after like kind of a collage, this big like whoosh of sounds. And it just builds and builds. And there's two guitars that like you haven't heard guitars like this in like 30 years. Well, 20 years, I guess. It's still the 80s, but it just sounds so different and like new and fresh, especially 1989 when like everything was kind of reaching its expiration date as far as classic rock goes. But I think this one is just like a blast of fresh air in the guitar, you know, rock and roll scene. So it's going to be my number one for 1989. I Want to Be Adored.
Very surprising. I didn't think you liked that album at all. That album made, I think, me and Jason's album of the year list. That's not even my favorite. It's probably not even top 3 for me on that album, but it's a great song, great pick. And it did, yeah, I mean, it was the most influential song. So nice work. You never cease to surprise me, my friend. I love you. I love you to death.
Everybody, well, you know, this might be the first time ever in my channel's history that no songs from my album of the year winner, which was Aerosmith. But I had like 2, I think Kate Bush. Yeah, Kate Bush was the only person, I think, in my top 5 album of the year. Really weird year for me, as far as albums and singles go. Bizarre.
I had She Bangs the Drum on my list, and I cut it at the last minute to get Love and Anger on there. My favorite song of 1989 is Most of the Time by Bob Dylan. I think this is Dylan at his best. I think you can stack this track up to almost anything he's ever done. The way he uses the line most of the time is so brilliant. Basically like saying sometimes he's not okay. Most of the time I am, but not always. And then as the song goes on, you like get this creeping suspicion that he's just putting on a brave face and he's probably not doing okay at all. And then that masterful writing paired with Daniel Lanois' haunting production is so great. I was thinking about it. I don't know if there's another example in Dylan's catalog where the production and the writing work like so synergistically together.
The only other example that I think kind of matches most of the time would be Not Dark Yet. I think the production and like, to me, there's songs that are amazing. And then the production is just like, oh my God.
I can see that. Yeah. But it's on another level from even everything else on Oh Mercy, which is, I think, a fantastic record, maybe arguably his best of the 80s. I think it's a beautiful song. Just great. I think that leaves us with a pretty interesting 3-way matchup here.
Yeah, that's speaking of interesting matchups, Joe, 3 votes shy. Even Cyber Ninjas can't overturn this one, but it's a very narrow win for me, and every day is like Sunday. So what's the leaderboard like now, my dude?
Let me take a look. I wasn't even going to mention it because I was so crushed by the result. Living Color losing by 3 votes. 80 for Call to Personality, 83 for Every Day is Like Sunday. That puts the score at me 15, Jason 12.5, Cramser now 9.5. He's sneaking up. This could be his decade coming up. So I think he's well positioned to make a run.
I'm much like Seabiscuit. I like to see the leaders have the lead for a bit, and then I get pissed off and make my move. I like the challenge. So the 90s, the 2000s, I'm gonna on that turn, I'm gonna make my move for you guys.
So for anybody unaware, we have a little friendly competition going here on the channel with this series. You can follow the link in the description to our website and vote for which of our songs of the year is your favorite. We've been keeping a running tally. Currently, Joe in the lead but not by a lot. Either of us could still catch him. So let us know what you think of our picks. Drop your own list down in the comments. Hit the like button, subscribe if you've not subscribed yet. Hit the bell for notifications. You've also got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, and merch in the description. Tons of links. Check them all out. Thanks for watching.